Analyst and also former Trump campaign advisor, my old friend there too, Walid Phares. So great to have you here, Walid. I am so interested to get your take on what you think the death of Zawahiri does to al-Qaeda. You and I have talked about him for a long time.
We did after 9/11 and for all these years. The time has passed. We are 2 decades after 9/11. Al-Zawahiri was, before he was eliminated, the commander of al-Qaeda. Now, al-Qaeda was responsible, as you just said, for 9/11, for many other attacks, even before 9/11, and for warfare in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and elsewhere. But it is the mothership of other jihadists, the grandmothership of other jihadists. So the first evaluation is justice-wise, at the level of justice, this had to happen. 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, doesn't matter. This is an action by American justice to punish those who caused massacres, on the one hand. On the other hand, the actual value of Zawahiri, operationally and tactically today, he was a guest, quote unquote, of the Taliban. He was sitting on his balcony. He was, of course, along with other jihadists, planning on strikes in the future. He was taken out. That's a good thing, but the American public needs to understand that the bigger network is ISIS, that the much bigger network is the Taliban. And so our question is, what is our planning for those organizations?
Yeah, there are so many questions. You know, Walid, what do you make of the fact that he was in a house, as you bring up? He's in Kabul. Apparently, he was right out in the open there. And he was staying at a house owned by another terrorist, a Haqqani house. I know you understand that network all too well, but it didn't seem like he was hiding too much. And he had regular habits. He would go outside. He was there with other family members. What does that say about the Taliban, that they clearly aren't honoring the agreement that they made in Doha, that they would no longer harbor terrorist extremists in their country?
Rita, you're absolutely right. I mean, the man was a guest of the Taliban. He was living at the home of a senior official of that network. By the way, New York Times had invited this guy, the guy who hosted him, to write an op-ed last year, which is another subject, but important to note here. Last year, 1 month after our disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, it was on Arab TV, it was online. We saw al-Qaeda elements crossing the borders from Pakistan into Afghanistan, and at one point from Iran into Afghanistan. So al-Qaeda was allowed by the Taliban to come in to organize themselves. Obviously, the Taliban told everybody, do not prepare an open attack against the United States, as your ancestor bin Laden has done, because we just received Afghanistan as a gift. We received $84 billion worth of weapons. So the Taliban didn't want them to organize something, but they have hosted them. They allowed them to do whatever they want. It's not just al-Qaeda. I mean, it may be news to the American public, but groups as far as ISIS in Syria and Iraq, or even in Africa and the Sahel, are all hosted now in Afghanistan.
Which is so concerning for us. And obviously, it makes it much more difficult because now we're not there on the ground where we have to do the over horizon, which makes it a lot more complicated, as you know. Let me also, though, ask you, Walid, does this drone strike send an important message, first off, that at least we are able to have a long reach to those who wish to do us harm, and also a message of continued U.S. military might?
Absolutely. We rely now solely on the might of our military intelligence community. This precision strike, half the planet away, is a message to all those who are regathering in Afghanistan or elsewhere that American justice and American technological might, our military, can reach to them at any time and any point. But we cannot only rely on the military. He is a VIP on that list of terrorist lists. So, you know, that helped, of course, our military to get to him. But who knows, second, third generation al-Qaeda or ISIS are also there. And it will take one operation to create a disaster in the United States.
Yeah, sadly. And also our border is so wide open. There's so many issues right here where we are so vulnerable, unfortunately. Walid, thank you very much. It's great to talk with you. Thank you for joining us today.